Hello and welcome to Pickleball Therapy, the podcast dedicated to your pickleball improvement. It's the podcast with you in mind. I'm your host, Tony Roy. I hope you're having a great week. This is Thanksgiving week that we're in here, and hope you're enjoying some turkey. You enjoyed some turkey. Our episodes, as you know, come out on Fridays, and so by now you've enjoyed, and maybe today you have some leftovers you can enjoy as well. And just hoping you're having a great week. This week's podcast, we have a lot to cover, and we're going to jump into it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about Thanksgiving, but we're going to talk about it as it relates to pickleball. Obviously, there's a general thankfulness component, a gratitude component that we're going to talk about, but we're going to get into it a little bit deeper than that. And I'm going to give you some thoughts on how to use that gratitude to play your best pickleball. So we're going to apply when we play pickleball. And then in the riff, I'm going to talk about some of the lessons from nationals. We're going to talk about the blame game. We're going to talk about why you play, and we're going to talk a little bit about distractions and how distractions can take away from our experience with pickleball. As we jump into the podcast, I have a request of you, if I may. I know that many of you have already rated and reviewed the podcast where you listen to it, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else. If you have an opportunity to rate and review the podcast and haven't done so yet, please do it for us. It really helps us. It helps us know how we're doing. But more importantly than that for us is it helps us reach other players. There are other players out there who maybe feel exactly the way you feel now, or if you're have been listening for a while, they feel like you did before you found the podcast. They're a little bit lost out there, frustrated, struggling. Let's help them out by rating and reviewing us. It helps us move up the charts, if you will, inside of the podcast systems, and is more likely to recommend it to players who may be looking for help with their pickleball. The other thing I wanted to let you know is that we have 2 courses coming out in right now in end of November, beginning of December. That's a Black Friday bundle that CJ put together. CJ said, let's do Black Friday bundle. And we were like, all right, let's do it. One of them has to do with partner play. One course has to do with partner play. And the other course has to do with reducing unforced errors. And the courses are really going to help you continue to grow as a pickleball player. And we're going to get you ready for 2024 to play amazing pickleball in 2024. So be on the lookout for that. I'll put a link down below too. You can go ahead and register there if you're ready to do so. All right, let's jump into gratitude. When we talk about, when we get to this time of the year, Thanksgiving, it's a time to take a pause and reflect on our lives and find gratitude. And the thing about it is this: gratitude it's always there. It's just sitting there. The problem is we sometimes don't take the time to recognize it, right? To look over and say, hey, gratitude's right there. Let me interact with it for a little bit. And it's the same when we play pickleball. When we play pickleball, we go out there and gratitude's all around us in the sense of like the items that we can be grateful for when we're on a pickleball court are everywhere. Just at its core, what is it we're doing? I don't know about you, but when I'm on a pickleball court, I am playing pickleball, which is awesome. So gratitude is sitting there, but we can get lost in other things, right? Winning, losing, missing a shot. Somebody said something negative to us, whatever it is. And so we lose sight of the gratitude that's already there. And what happens is when we lose sight of the gratitude, then we don't feel it, right? So we don't get the benefit of it. But there's more than that to it, which is that our minds can run away from us, right? So by not seeing the gratitude and allowing these other things to just take over, our minds run away. And what happens is it affects how we play pickleball. It will negatively impact the way we play pickleball. There is dozens, probably hundreds actually, of studies out there about the mental, how we perform, how our minds perform when they're calm and when they're not calm. And if you want to have a calm mind, which you're going to perform better with, gratitude is a great way to get there. It's a very positive way to get there. And I'm going to give you a gift that you can then share with others. Is what I want you to do is next time you go out to play is find the friend who you really love seeing on the pickleball courts, walk up to them out of the blue, and after you say hello to them, tell them how thankful you are for having the opportunity to see them that day. And then you can tell them, I hope that we're able to play on the same court. And in fact, I hope I get to partner with you. I'd be so thankful to be able to do that. And the smile that's going to come across their face is going to be ear to ear, and you have the power to gift that to them, right? You have the ability to do that. It's so powerful, and if we did that more often, our friends would feel better, and so would we out on the court. So give that one a try. If you want to read a little bit more about gratitude and about how it applies to pickleball and how you can, there's some practices you can do to develop gratitude, including the one I just gave you. Check out our blog. We have a blog at the betterpickleball.com website. You just go to the very top. There's a menu that says blogs. You go click on blogs, and it should be the first blog in there, having to do with thankfulness and gratitude and the practice of gratitude. It'll help you feel better, and you're also going to play better pickleball. All right, I want to jump into nationals. CJ and I had an opportunity to go to nationals, and it was an awesome experience. The players, the energy, just the whole thing, right? It's just, if you love pickleball, there's not a lot of experiences in our sport that resemble a nationals or a U.S. Open in Naples, something like that. It's just a level of energy that's it's hard to describe if you haven't been there, but it's really amazing to experience. But there's 3 lessons that I took away from nationals that I wanted to share with you during this podcast, because I think they'll really help you in terms of the mental part of the game. The first one I want to talk about is the blame game. And I addressed that in a video that we did on YouTube at the Into Pickle channel. So if you haven't checked it out, feel free to go check that one out after the podcast, talking about partner mistakes that we make in partner play. And one of those is this blame game. And the blame game is where, it's the saying is, when you miss a shot, it's you did something wrong. But when your partner misses a shot, their view is, oh, that's just pickleball, right? That just happens. That's the blame game. It's the one where one partner makes another partner feel bad for things that are perfectly natural in any sport, including pickleball, i.e. pop-up, miss shot, things like that. Shot hit to the wrong player or the wrong spot. And one player, again, makes the other player feel inferior, feel deficient for that. And that's the blame game. And I'm going to tell you, from a competitive standpoint, and this is, these are lessons from nationals, right? So these lessons are from a competitive standpoint. But I'll expound in a second, but it's applicable to rec play just the same. In a competitive standpoint, there is nothing that will undermine the ability of a team to perform more than blame, more than one player feeling like they've let their partner down or they've let their team down because of some mistake that they made in the game. Again, missed shot or something like that. And what happens is it basically starts to snowball the team downward. It's a downward spiral, if you will. And that negative energy that gets created, the stress that's placed on the player who missed the shot, it's just not going to be successful. And I saw blame games at nationals. I saw partners rolling eyes. I witnessed, these are senior pro players. I witnessed senior pro players, wondering whether their partner was ever going to make that shot, right? Is that player ever going to make that shot, kind of a thing? I'm not going to name names here because it's just not necessary. And frankly, why, right? But it happened, and it wasn't, these aren't outliers. These are not, isolated incidents. And so, and what I can tell you is that you could see the blame game impacting the performance of that team and the performance of the partner and the performance of the team. So be cognizant of the blame game. Sometimes we do it unintentionally, shoulder slump, eye roll, things like that. CJ's advice to players, to partners, and I think it's great advice, is try to get used to always turning towards the middle, right? So when you're playing with a partner, don't turn away, even if you don't mean anything. Make it a habit to turn towards the middle and make eye contact with your partner to let them know that everything's fine. Because if you turn away, even if you don't mean anything by it, your partner can just read into it whatever they want, eye roll and things like that. Again, you didn't do an eye roll, you don't mean it, you didn't mean anything, there was nothing communicated by you, but turning away allows for the possibility of your movement being misconstrued by your partner. Whereas turning inward, tapping a paddle, looking them in the eye will help you avoid any possible confusion about the blame game out there. And the blame game and other partner subjects are we're going to be covering during the partner course, the Black Friday bundle I mentioned earlier. So if you want to know more about positive partner play and playing constructively with your partner, including angles, court coverage angles, and other areas where partners sometimes have deficiencies in their game, you're definitely going to want to join us for that course. Again, I'll put a link down below on that. The second lesson from Nationals that I wanted to talk about is this idea of why we play. And I'm going to, let me frame it out in terms of Nationals, and then I'll expound on it to no matter what level or area you're playing in. So these are, again, senior pro players. These are friends of mine. Many of them are friends of mine who I've known for years. When I say senior pro players, they are the best 50 and over players in the country, right? These are the best of the best at 50 and over, right? And the question I asked myself walking around, and I'm going to ask my fellow senior pros in an open letter coming out probably right after this section of the holidays, is why are you here, basically, is what I'm going to ask them. Why do you come to a tournament? Because I can tell you that a good number of them looked absolutely miserable out on the pickleball court. They did not look like they were having a good time. They looked like they were under an immense amount of pressure. And my message to them will be, you are a grown person. You're an adult. You're not a 14-year-old junior tennis player under pressure with your parents and people watching and whatever. You're a grown person, and you have voluntarily come to an event in a sport of your choosing to compete against other players like you. That should be amazing. That should be just, smile, ear-to-ear smiles all the way around for everybody. Should be some laughing, should be some joking, should be some competition. But this, paddle chucking, grumpy looking faces, I think they'd have more fun at the dentist, frankly. So, that's my question to them is, why do you come to tournaments? And to expand that concept, when you think about your own game and your friends' games, right? People and things like that, other players, why do you play, right? And if you focus yourself on why it is that you actually go to the courts, I'm guessing you're not going to the courts to dink, right? I understand we're dinking. I get that. And I understand that it's part of what we do, but we didn't go to the courts to dink. We didn't go to the courts to hit serves or go to the court to volley. We went to the courts for something else, right? And I'm not going to tell you what it is because everybody's a little bit different. You have your own reason for going to the courts. And as long as you keep that front and center, I think you'll have a better time when you're out there, but also you'll be more focused because you won't get distracted by stuff that really doesn't matter. I popped the ball up. Okay, so what? Everybody pops the ball up, right? So you start moving away from those types of concerns, and you avoid the I'm not saying you chuck your paddle, right? But the feeling of wanting to chuck the paddle, the feeling of wanting to stomp your feet or yell out to the sky or something like that starts to diminish over time as you better able to keep track of or keep focused on why it is that you actually play pickleball. So that's the second lesson from Nationals. And the third lesson from Nationals that I wanted to share is a broader message about distractions. And I think what happens sometimes is we get so hyper-focused on a negative, whatever it is, and I'll give you what happened in Nationals, but we get so hyper-focused on the negative that we lose sight of the bigger picture, and the bigger picture generally is going to be positive. And at Nationals, before I got to Nationals, there was a ton of posts on Facebook about the toilet situation, playing late, wait times, things like that. Some concerns about the court spacing and those types of things. And I witnessed it myself where I saw players, balls in tournaments will come across courts. That's just the nature of tournaments. And frankly, any play where there's multiple courts side by side. And, so you had lets, you had replays and things like that. But and I saw players get so, like hung up on that. They were disappointed when a ball came across their court and things like that. That I think what happens, well, going back to the story, so I had read these posts. So I'm going to nationals expecting just disaster, right? I'm going to nationals thinking this is just going to be awful. Then I get to nationals and I'm like, this is actually pretty good overall. Now, were there problems? Sure, there were problems. The toilet's not ideal. I mean, an event of this nature should have better toilet facilities, meaning, the better the trucks like these at the U.S. Open. But, so instead of portalets, I'm not going to argue with that. I agree. The courts being near each other, okay, fine. But, you have a capacity issue then. So what I would say to you is this. When I got to nationals, it was amazing. It was an awesome experience. The music was great. The boulevard was fun. The energy was amazing. And being able to compete with other great players from around the country. It's just an amazing event. But for some, it was about the bathrooms. And again, I'm not defending the bathrooms. I don't disagree that the bathrooms should have been better and should have been better handled. But that's an example of hyper focusing on a negative and losing sight of the positive. And when you extrapolate that kind of thinking to a pickleball game, it's where you popped the one ball up or two balls up or however many, right? But you lost sight of the time that you defended the really good shot or the great volley you hit or the deep return of serve that set up an easy victory, because that's not noticeable, right? And so what I'm going to recommend you do is when you have those moments of the negative, right? Whatever the negative is, the missed serve or whatever it is, don't let it eclipse the positive. You can still notice it, right? Like I noticed the bathrooms. I did not notice the bathrooms not being fantastic and could be better. But don't let that detract from the bigger picture that you're engaging in when you're out there playing pickleball. So those are the 3 lessons from nationals, and I think we can apply those to our games no matter no matter where we're playing, and maintain a better perspective when we're out on the pickleball court, not just to enjoy the sport better, but also to play better pickleball, because a calm mind will allow you to do that. All right, that's this week's podcast. Again, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I hope you're enjoying this week. I hope you're getting to play some pickleball wherever you're at. And as always, please remember to share the podcast with your friends, because if you enjoy the podcast, they probably will too. I would say the best gift you can give somebody, better than any tie, scarf, or what are those things called? Fruit cake that you can buy somebody, is to share pickleball therapy with them. And as always, if you have ideas for the podcast, please shoot them to us at therapy@betterpickleball.com. Therapy@betterpickleball.com. Those emails come to me, and I will. We'll be doing a mailbag episode probably in the next 2 weeks or so. I'll be doing a mailbag episode because the mailbag is getting kind of full. So if you want me to address something that you are currently struggling with, please let us know. And lastly, I said it at the beginning, but I'm saying it again, please rate and review the podcast if you can. It helps us reach other players who, just like you, would benefit from listening to Pickleball Therapy. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next time.